Sucio Talk. Geoff Davis in the house.
What's up?
Jeffrey motherfucking Davis. How you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Chilling. Keep seeing. Congratulations. You have secured a restaurant space.
I have.
You are. How far along are you? Kitchen built?
Not quite.
Okay.
I'm doing we were just talking about doing an SBA loan. And,
Okay.
So just going through the process of that mass amount of paperwork and
Yeah.
stuff. And so we're all approved and ready to go. Just like waiting on the last little bit of like hoops to jump through. So,
Okay. How long did that whole process take, getting that loan?
I started in June of last year.
June of last year.
So it's middle of February 23. So
Right.
what is that? 8 months?
Yeah.
7 months. So
Okay.
it's
And
every time I thought we were done, it was just like more
stuff.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, like the loan officer, ended up like kind of working out because we got through it, but it just took. Every time I thought we were done, it was just like the loan officer would just like casually ask for something that's like, cool, I need to like reach out to the IRS and then get them to mail me something and then get that notarized. It's like,
Right.
like, hey, could you just grab this for me? It's like, cool, that's going to take like a week. So, then that week, and then he's like, oh, cool, thank you so much for that. Could you grab me this? And it's just like
Right.
that process into perpetuity, pretty much.
Jeez.
So,
and
crazy.
when this guy's working on your loan, is he working on your loan specifically, or does he have like 4 or 5 loans that he's doing, kind of balancing his time?
Yeah, he's working on a couple of things.
So it's hard to get a hold of him sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. Got it. So you got to get your fucking ducks in a row weeks in advance.
Totally. And,
Heard that.
And like multiple times a week.
Yeah.
So
Is this the first space that you thought about closing on?
I looked at a couple spaces, and then I'm working with a real estate broker, a business broker for this, and struck out on a couple things. Just like the terms didn't seem good.
Yeah.
The space wasn't perfect, but like trying to think about like how to make it work, and then that happened like 3 times, and then she was just like, "Look, just like dream up your dream, like your dream place, even if they're in operation." And just give me a short list of like places that you really would want to be, even if they're an operating business, and we can see if they would be willing to sell. And so I did that on Friday. Monday morning, the number 1 spot on my list just happened to come into the market.
No way.
So
okay.
yeah. So
And what was operating in that space then?
Aunt Mary's Cafe.
Aunt Mary's Cafe.
Yeah.
And a little bit of, do you know them personally now that you've been doing this, or kind of stay out of the way?
Used to go there for breakfast.
Okay.
And didn't really know them that well, but they, I was like regular-ish.
Yeah.
Through this process, we've, had to ask for all this paperwork and stuff back and forth, and they've been really cool and helpful. They're basically retiring.
Right.
It's
best case scenario.
Totally. Just
right
like
there.
kind of helping them fulfill their dream of being done, and and mine as well. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
That's gonna be good energy.
Yeah.
Kind of having that, because sometimes I think about opening restaurants in spaces that have closed.
Yeah, like
And I'm like,
the ghost of the porter.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Or restaurants that people died in.
Yeah,
like that one in downtown Napa.
Oh yeah.
Forget the name of it.
Yeah. It was
it's the-
Fagiani's.
Yeah, Fagiani's, the 3-story bar there. Forget the name of it now. They got Matt Leitner open that place up when it reopened.
Yeah, that was a crazy story. You know that whole story?
No, what happened?
So like in the 70s, I remember like doing some research about this when Leitner's place opened.
Okay.
So in the 70s, somebody like came in to the store, like held it up at gunpoint and shot the woman behind the bar that happened to be the owner of the building's
The
daughter.
establishment. Wow. While they were upstairs, probably sleeping.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if they're living upstairs.
That's fucked.
But they were like, the business was in operation, and he shot her, like robbed the till, dipped out, like was in a high-speed chase, and crashed. And what is the lake up there in Napa? Like kind of south of Napa? It's like a kind of like a reservoir.
Herman Road?
Um,
Lake Herman Road.
I don't know.
That's where the Zodiac Killer also killed.
Maybe. But he like crashed into the lake.
Yeah.
And then they got him.
Ooh.
And I guess the restaurant opened on the same year that guy got released from jail. Like after serving his like 40 years or whatever. But
damn.
And so when they took over the space, there was like beers still in the fridge, like chairs that had been like kicked over, people trying to run out of there. Like nobody had like gone in and like, aside from like cleaning up probably blood and fragments.
Right.
Like there was like money in the till. There was like, you know, stuff in the fridge. There was like a beer on the bar, you know, like.
That's very eerie.
It's super eerie.
They found a spot like that in Rhode Island once. I think it had to do with the mob. And so the mob was running this guy out of town basically. And the way they left like mid-service. So there was still food in saute pans. And, you know, my old chef, Jake, he went to go look at it because they were having a sale of goods or whatever. And he's like, yeah, it had looked like somebody just, like everyone disappeared out of nowhere.
Totally.
And everything was like books left open and shit, like crazy.
It's still like eggplant parm in the pan.
Exactly, right? Aged eggplant parm.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But I don't know. It's a crazy story. Like it's like, and it's been like what 3 or 4 restaurants since then. So
yeah,
there's something going on there. It's like in a good location too.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a beautiful rooftop. Also, I've been up there quite a few times.
Yeah.
Last time I was in Napa, I was at the cigar bar. I'm into cigar bars now, so been doing a little bit of that. So Burdell, tasting or a la carte?
We'll do like a family style prefix, kind of like we did for the pop up, as an option, and then a la carte as well.
Okay, and then are you gonna keep sort of the diner feel, the diner style? Does it have a diner bar?
It has like a coffee station right now, and so we're gonna put in a bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope.
Working on the design for that.
Got it. And as far as other employees, pastry chef, bartender, do you know who's going to work with you, or are you still in that process?
We have a bunch of people that are really interested in working with us. So like kind of really fortunate with the pop up to have a bunch of people that are stoked to be part of the team. So,
yeah.
Have the core team, still need a couple pieces. But,
right.
We're going to start pushing more heavily on that once we get kind of in the space and building. So
how big is the team going to be? Like how many sous chefs, how many cooks you planning on having?
I don't know, probably in the kitchen somewhere around 8 to 10.
Okay.
And then we'll be 5 days a week to start.
You know what those 5 days are? The regular Oakland 5 days, or are you going to capture that industry night on Monday?
No, I think we'll be closed Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
We really want to capture that like Sunday.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we'll probably close Monday, Tuesday. But you know, open to changing that, whatever. But yeah. So you know, hopefully less than like 20 people will like kind of make up the whole team.
Right. How many people do you want to serve? How many covers are you looking to do a night, a day? Will you be open for lunch?
On Sunday, I want to add brunch. Eventually down the road. Open to doing lunch, but that's not in the initial
not in the
plan.
cards right now.
Yeah, so we'll just do dinner. I mean, hoping to do, you know, pretty consistently plus or minus 100 most days, and then on the weekends do, you know, 140, something like that. 150 maybe.
You're going to do the late opening for dinner, 6 p.m., or are we talking 5? Right at 5.
5.
Ooh, push the cooks, chef. Okay. Yeah. I like that. Very cool. And then the food that you're doing.
Yeah.
Are you completely going to start with something new that you haven't done, or are you going to do the classics out the gate? The Nashville fried rabbit, you know.
Yeah, some classics. Definitely like the pop-up was a great
incubator
for us to like figure out what like people really responded to, get all those recipes down and dialed in. So yeah, we'll it'll be a mix of things, and it'll just really depend on like when we open, like what's at the markets then.
Right. When are you looking? When's the opening date, you thinking?
I don't want to say a date, but like late spring.
Late spring.
So
okay.
we're shooting for. It's gonna be
So we're
quick.
fucking in the shits over here, chef, already.
Okay. Yeah, busy.
So you got purveyors set up and everything like that?
Yeah, it's like through the pop-up. So like most of our people that we're going to work with are already set up.
Got it. Yeah. As far as beverage goes, full liquor license?
No, just beer and wine.
Beer and wine.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to focus on natural wine, chef? Or?
No. No. I mean, it's a
touchy subject.
It's a touchy subject. The word natural just means so many things.
Whoa, natty, chef. Natty.
Yeah,
okay.
natty. It means so many things, and I think what kind of captures like what the wine list is going to be like is like farmer forward.
Okay.
And so not necessarily natural, but some of those wines fall into that box. But for me, like they have to be clean and like not effed up.
Right.
So it's a balance. So I definitely don't want stuff on there that's like tastes like kombucha.
Heard that.
Yeah.
Do you like orange wine?
Yeah.
Okay, you are into the orange wine.
Yeah, but again, like it has to be like well made and sound and not microbial.
Not just like we left it there and then we made a mistake and now you're drinking it. No.
Totally.
Awesome. Cool. Are you looking to bring on a som?
So James Yu, he owns Great China.
Yeah,
Berkeley.
yeah.
He's consulting and helping with the
That's
list.
dope.
So
they have awards on that list over there.
Yeah, it's
okay.
amazing. Yeah.
Cool.
And then James Seibout, we're consigning some stuff out of Comey's cellar as well.
Okay.
So
very cool.
Yeah, just it's a good baseline, and then I have like a pretty big collection as well, so I'm gonna pull some stuff from that for our opening list and stuff. So yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Damn, I can't wait to obviously your food now, but when you're in the space and it starts to take form, a year, 2 years from now, that's like really the sweet spot.
Totally. That's the thing with restaurants, right? Like I think people like are quick to pass judgment like a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months in. It's like it's a living, breathing thing. Like it's gonna hopefully continue to get better over the entire time. So
it feels like you only have one shot sometimes.
Totally.
And you do most times.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like just like human beings, like you don't always have the best stuff every day, but I think it's just about getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you looking to do guest chef dinners in the space?
Definitely.
Yeah. Like right away, or are you going to get your identity first before you start?
Yeah, we'll get our footing before we add like a bunch of variables. But like, I'd love to, the thing I really want to do is like because the restaurant is named after my grandmother, do like a grandma series. So people come in, like cook their whatever culture they're from.
Yeah.
Cook their grandmother's food.
With their actual grandma? That'd be even doper.
They could. Their grandma could come eat.
That's fucking, yeah, right? Yeah, you don't got to work anymore.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I want to do something like that going forward. So.
Yeah. So let's take it back a little bit. When you were doing the pop-ups, when you were doing the first one, did you do that with the goal of having a restaurant in the future from those pop-ups, or were you just, we're going to have fun?
No. Oh, yeah. I mean, wanted to have fun, but also knew that pop-ups are, and I found out even more so that pop-ups are really hard to do. And it's like a lot of moving parts and a lot of risk. So just like the goal was always to like use it as momentum and a testing ground to like spin into the restaurant. So,
right.
And I was really intentional about the way that we did the pop-up, that it felt like a restaurant. It didn't feel like, it wasn't like,
didn't feel pop-up-y.
Yeah.
I get that.
Like wasn't like we're serving food at a bar and kind of like, it felt like we were in control of all the aspects of it, like the service and the beverage program, and just felt like a mini restaurant for the night. So
right.
Yeah. So that was like really intentional, and also just wanted to have some control over like how many covers we did and like the entire guest experience, because I feel like the guest experience is like more important than the food, So having people feel like they're coming into something that's like buttoned up and makes sense.
Yeah. What they paid for sure.
Yeah. What they paid for. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the toughest messaging when you cater anything, really. Guest expectation.
100%.
Because if that's not dialed in, a very small thing can make it horrible.
Totally. And I think like my favorite restaurants, especially in the Bay Area, like they aren't necessarily like the best food.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like whole package is like so compelling,
Right?
and you like the service is so dialed and warm that you're like you can forgive like a little seasoning issue here and there.
Right.
And like it like doesn't matter. You're just like in someone's
Mm-hmm.
home. You know, it's just like going to someone's house for dinner. You're not going to be like you know, get up from the table and be like, yeah,
Extremely rude.
little couple more drops of lemon on that fish. That would have been, you know. But thank you for having us.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
like, you know, like it's about like the whole like welcoming and hospitality. You know? And like you give some a pass. You know, you're not gonna be like, Grandma, you used to make this.
Right.
You know, but
This used to be better.
A couple more drops of vinegar and a couple pinch of salt. It's like no, it's not about that. You know, it's about the whole like being cared for.
Yeah, I could see that. I think when you work in the Michelin world and when you're doing that, it kind of does affect your judgment when you go out to eat. And it does make you think like that. Instead of being like, how do I enjoy this experience as a whole? What can I take from this? It's you sitting there being like, well, our potato puree at our restaurant's way better than this. You know what I mean? And I've had those kind of meals, and I think we were talking about that before, like the old guard, new guard kind of thing. Was that annoying to have it taught to me that way? Yes, but I learned it, at the end of the day. And I've been in this business 15 years. How long you been cooking?
Almost 20, yeah.
20 years, right? Yeah. So it's like, it makes sense that you're opening a restaurant, A lot of these pop-up people that I see, they don't have that kind of training. They don't have any lineage to them. They just open up restaurants. Some are successful, some are not. Those that are successful, whatever, it's all good. But I do fear, as we were talking about earlier, there's an education gap, because now these guys that are just opening restaurants and starting to cook, where do they get their knowledge from? Great culinary books or TikTok shorts? You know what I mean?
Well, neither of those.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I've been thinking about this a lot. I think the pandemic has changed a lot of this dynamic. Like people have, like out of necessity, have started pop-ups and launched into things. And I don't know. I've always had this feeling like I wouldn't hire myself for a job that someone else wouldn't hire me for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like a lot of people should like take that in mind when they're doing things, because I mean there is a chance that you like are gonna rise to the occasion. You're gonna start a pop-up even though you couldn't be a sous chef somewhere, and like like spin it into something that's like really successful. But I think having that backbone, having the ability to cool, you can do it for somebody else, and now it's time you really comfortable with that process, and now you're going to do it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's invaluable.
Right. I think there's a duty also to the people coming to work for you, because when you go train, you want to go train with the best. How are you going to be the best if you've only done your own thing ever, right? Maybe switched careers. Maybe you have enough money to open your own thing. Not dogging it, but at the end of the day, what are you teaching?
Totally. I mean, I think we have a responsibility when you're working in this industry and you have people that are working under you, that you're passing along knowledge and getting them to where you're at. If you get there because of a fluke, like that fluke isn't necessarily going to happen because of to the next generation that are coming up under you. So I think it's like, it takes a lot of, I don't think there's shortcuts, like it takes a lot of like daily grind.
Right. How do you train a new cook in the daily grind if they can only work 8 hours a day?
I mean, those 8 hours can be intense.
Right.
I think that's the way. And they're spending, they have more time to hopefully be going to restaurants maybe before their shift.
Right.
Reading cookbooks, learning other ways, becoming like well-rounded people.
Yeah.
So they should be using that time like effectively, because we all have the same amount of it. It's just like how you use it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I always wondered how you hire in the Bay Area without discriminating, right? But you're looking for the best. You know what I mean? And how do you hire? How will you hire?
It's less about like actual skills in the moment. It's more about attitude and willingness to learn and willingness to like the passion for the craft. And
Right.
Even though it's an 8-hour shift that they're spending a couple hours a day like learning and trying to get better at the craft and understand more things and like understand more of like what's going on in food in the Bay Area, in the country, in the world. Spending that time doing that. So even if it's something as like simple as watching YouTube or reading Eater from other places or whatever,
Right.
just like using that time to get better.
What publications are you intaking on a daily basis?
I mean, Eater is like the newspaper,
Right?
For sure. Always checking in on that. And I listen to a lot of podcasts too. This one obviously, and then David Chang's podcast is really good. I think he can be kind of a controversial figure, but like his takes on a lot of the stuff that the culture around food and he's really focused on food media right now. I couldn't agree more with his perspective. So
Right.
yeah.
And what is his perspective? I haven't quite heard.
That food media really needs to change and have a different goal. I think, especially like newspapers, it's all set up the way that it was set up like for all times, and they're treating the articles like it's your only way that you can get information about new restaurants, and it's like that's probably the last place that
people look.
place, I've been to the place 3 times before the Chronicle article comes out. I'm not like learning about it for the first time. And there's that aspect, but also like having an opinion about the food that's frozen in time in that moment is really hard these days, especially like post pandemic, or still during or wherever we're at. Like restaurants are just so dynamic now. So the style of service, the price point, the staff, the hours of operation are like potentially constantly in flux.
Yeah.
And so having this snapshot review of this time that you went frozen in time for 5 years until you have the time to make it back around as a critic is not realistic or fair or a good accurate representation of the restaurant, because the restaurant might be a barbecue restaurant now,
right?
Like
might have closed.
Yeah, it might have closed. Or just some huge change may have happened. And I think that the way that we used to write about restaurants in the 80s just doesn't really apply anymore. I think everyone's using the same kind of formula. Also, like one person's opinion about an experience shouldn't be the law. Like restaurants aren't for everybody. I think like that's a way that we can kind of cope with this like market saturation, is that not every restaurant is for everybody. And it doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that it's whatever. It's just like it's not for you. It might not be for that critic. It doesn't mean that it's bad or that people shouldn't go.
So we need more voices doing the critiquing.
More voices and no critique.
Right.
Like, give me information. Maybe you can give me a sentence about like what you enjoyed or didn't enjoy. But like, just give me the information and give me the story. Give me the reason for going to it. And if you have something, if the restaurant is overwhelmingly negative, just don't write about it.
Right.
We don't need, it's always entertaining to read the Pete Wells takedowns. It's like funny, but it's also like not funny at all.
It's not funny at all because
it's a waste of time.
I think people take it too literal.
Totally.
However, I do think that there should be bad reviews. If you don't like it and you're a writer and you have the skill to write something that's maybe satirical or really funny, go ahead.
I think it just affects. I don't think it affects who they think it's affecting.
Understood.
I think it's like if you tell someone that like a fine dining restaurant is bad and it hurts their business, the owner of the business is going to make decisions that affect the people that make the least amount of money in the restaurant.
Right.
So maybe you let go of the dishwasher, you cut down on the cook's hours because your business has dropped, and like, you know, it'll take a little bit and then maybe you bounce back from that. But
right.
like, the person that gets affected is the porter, the night cleaner,
Mm-hmm.
the bus boy, those low rung workers. And I also, you know, we don't know, you know, when you have these negative takedown pieces, we don't know, like, because you didn't enjoy something doesn't mean that this place needs to struggle.
Right. 100.
And the people within that place need to struggle. So,
well, does that say something about the person who wrote it, or does that say something about the readers?
the person who wrote it, because what is the point other than to affect their business?
Right. I don't think,
Like just being mean. You know?
I mean, well,
like
Pete Wells definitely, come on.
And you invest your whole life and millions of dollars to open
Right.
a restaurant, and like you're still dialing it in, and then like Pete Wells comes, it's like, oh,
Right.
fuck, here we go.
Now, historically, I've only really heard about the big name restaurants getting taken down by him.
Totally.
I've never really heard about smaller restaurants getting destroyed by Pete Wells,
And
because that doesn't sell newspapers.
a lot of his commentary too is about like capitalism.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
using these like high-end restaurants to like voice his feelings
Mm-hmm.
about capitalism, and which is fine, but like just write about the core issue then,
Right.
and don't like
Not
drag
about
all these people.
a restaurant because of it. Got it. I mean, that brings
'Cause,
up
like,
a lot of shit.
Restaurants aren't for everybody. So like this, $1,500 a person restaurant, it's not, definitely not for me.
Right.
But like it's for somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and like they should be allowed to go. If they can afford to do it, they should be allowed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they make their own value judgment on whether it's good or not,
Right. Yeah,
or
Chef.
worth their money.
I think it was SF Gate wrote an article about Chef from Nice, because he was offering that $1,000 experience.
Yeah, I don't know if I
know?
commented pretty heavily on that like Instagram.
No, I didn't. What do you think?
It burns my bread. It made me so upset because David is like unbelievably talented.
Yeah, one of the nicest guys.
One of the nicest
Like,
guys
literally.
ever. And like
And they just suffered the tragedy
100%.
2 weeks before that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, restaurants are like the only business that people really have an opinion on, like how much they should be allowed to charge and how much they should be allowed to make.
Right.
And why can't you do things that people are willing to pay for?
Mm-hmm.
If people are willing to pay for it, there's no issue. And it doesn't exclude anybody because it's one person.
Mm-hmm.
Like one person can decide to do that. I think cooking classes obviously are a thing. People pay more than that to take cooking classes from like less skilled people than David.
Right.
So like, why can't he do that? I think it's a really cool way to engage their guests and have people see the inner workings of like what makes that restaurant special.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not for everybody, like,
Right.
but it doesn't exclude anybody either. You could still go to the restaurant. You just can't have that experience.
Right.
That's fine. Like you also can't buy out the restaurant if you don't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, should they not be allowed to do buyouts or restaurants?
That's a great way to put it.
Like this is an exclusive experience that costs money. And, the way that they framed it is like you're paying to work. And it's like, it's just clickbait, it's just, it's a class. You're paying for the education.
Right.
You're paying for the experience of like seeing the inner workings of a top restaurant in San Francisco. It's pretty cool if you think about it that way. Like there's not a lot of opportunities where civilians and just normal people can come off the street and see that in depth into this world.
Right.
It's cool.
I know a local guy. He's trying to be sort of a restaurant critic, right? He eats at this place that I know he likes, right? Great review. He eats at this other place that we both agree is not that great, but the review is good, right? The review he's putting on the internet is good. So I question that, right? Because then I say, you have to at some point be honest. And I'm not saying that the article has to take down the restaurant, but I believe that there is a space for a negative review of a restaurant.
I agree. And I don't think that like all reviews need to be like,
it doesn't need to be written like fucking,
flowery.
Stephen King, like, this was the worst meal of my life. You know what I mean? Maybe a preface of like, this is a restaurant review, one man's opinion.
Yeah.
Go make your own opinion.
For sure. I just wouldn't go as far as to say, like the verdict is bad. Like be honest.
Right.
Like, and even at the top restaurants, they're going to have some things that are like, they didn't do it for me.
Right.
Like, be honest about that. But if it's overwhelmingly bad, just don't write about it.
Okay. And so you're saying don't say anything.
No, I'm saying be honest. But if all you have to say is just overwhelming negativity about the place, then just don't give them press at all.
Right.
Like just
that's probably a better way to.
And like their exclusion from press, if there's definitely a place that like you would think would get a review, that should be enough. And people that are really cued in should know, because the reviews aren't even for like negative reviews. Like, who are they for? Is it for the restaurant to get better? Because like it's not. Otherwise, it would be a private letter. Is it for other industry people? Like, I think people that get bad reviews, like, it's probably like increases their difficulty of getting staff. Like it.
Damn right it does. I feel bad for the people that work at restaurants, and then the guy gets canceled on them, like homeboy at Stone Barns. And like, what about all those cooks? They didn't all do the thing that this guy's getting accused of.
Totally.
How does somebody come back from that?
Totally.
In your opinion?
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing that's like really like kind of gives me pause, because I think it's really important to be really intentional about like writing these things, because it affects this whole ecosystem that's just bigger than like my salad was overdressed.
Right.
It's restaurants are just, at the core, they're about people. It's not really about, the critic feeling seen in the space. And a lot of it, it boils down to just that. And it's kind of, it's tough to, conflate a bad meal with the place being bad or not worthy.
Right. I can see that. Maybe we just need to figure out, or maybe have us write the fucking be food critics, ex-chefs.
Like, I don't know who it's for. That's the thing. Like, who is it for?
Well, Soleil Ho just stepped down.
Yes.
Right. What do you think about that?
I can't say for sure like the why, but I have to think that it has to do with a lot of these kind of difficulties of like trying to figure out like what is the role of the critic. I think they did away with the rating system during her tenure, or their tenure, excuse me, and it's just very like just apparent that like the dynamic of restaurants have changed so much in the past couple of years because of the pandemic, because of all these other factors. So I think having that job is just exponentially more difficult. So, I mean, I think you've noticed, like, when they first took the position, there was a negative review for Chez Panisse. I think that was the first.
Yeah.
But then the stance kind of changed because there was a lot of blowback from that. And there hasn't been very many negative
Reviews after the fact.
So I think the role of the critic has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no number reviews anymore, and then there's a diminishing amount of negative reviews.
So when it comes to maybe like Michelin, that kind of rating system, do you still believe in that rating system as it stands today?
Yeah, but I mean, I just don't think that it covers everything. And I think, almost like the newspaper rating systems, like you can't get 4 stars from the New York Times unless you're pretty much like a 3 Michelin restaurant.
Right.
But it's like, why is that? Why can't things at a lower price point be just as delicious?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what, like it makes no sense. And it excludes a lot of people that maybe can't afford to go to those restaurants or work at those restaurants or all those things, or own that kind of restaurant. So, and the Chronicle used to work the same way. 4 stars kind of meant you were, a 2 or 3 star, and the critic had a great time when they came to your spot. It's like, why can't the best of the region taco place be 4 stars of that category?
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Why not? Do you think that Michelin would have to?
So I think the same applies to Michelin. Like, why? It seems correlated to price.
Mm-hmm. Can Michelin ever take it back or change?
I have no idea.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it just, for me,
it just sucks,
a 3
like,
star is a 3 star.
Right.
I think that means something, but I think there's a lot of places that fall under the umbrella of like the definition of what a 1 star is that, could be a 1 star, but then it kind of muddies the water for places that are like at 1 that, potentially could get 2. And
right.
So it's confusing, like
it just kind of sucks. Like, cause like
In-N-Out, why not a 1 star? That's
right.
a very good restaurant in its category.
It is a very good restaurant in its category, but
and very consistent.
At the end of the day, though, I think you got to separate it some way.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then everybody gets a trophy.
For sure.
I don't know.
They definitely like expanded the kind of places that get 1 stars.
Yeah, I could see that. I think with the 3-star thing, I don't know, man. I think it has to do definitely with price, and that sucks. Can you have an elegant service, charge $100 for it? You think? Because think about the line staff. Like, they're going to be like, no, this is worth 3-star prices. So it's even the staff in the building does not want to get paid less to do the same as a 3-star.
I think it's possible, like, like a counter service thing where it's like very limited staff.
Just cooks. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my friend Ricky that has 6 test kitchen in Paso Robles,
Mm-hmm.
like it's, it's 12 seats, and very limited staff. Not $100, but like, cheaper than it should be, I think.
Right.
Just based on the model of the business.
Yeah, there's some tasting menus here. I mean, look at Mago. It's like $80 for 10 courses. I'm like, how the fuck the space is huge.
Totally.
That always like make me question that.
Yeah, I did 2 pop-ups there. It's a great kitchen.
Yeah. Great space.
Great space. And Mark's awesome.
Yeah, Mark's cool. Cool as fuck. What did you think about that whole Noma article that came out?
Oh, man.
Rene Redzepi and look, for me,
Well, I just want to take this moment to announce that 3 years from now, I may be stepping out of the kitchen. Just like,
that's awesome.
Just throwing it out there.
Are you gonna close Burdell a year after you open it? Oh, what the fuck!
But,
look, this guy gets a lot of bad press, and I don't know if he should or not. I don't think that you can properly say that obviously he was a fucking rude boy chef. I get that, but to say that all of those people that worked for him, weren't getting paid and were treated unfairly, I'm like, it was your choice to go be a stagiaire there.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff, like, it's annoying. I mean, you went there, you knew that you weren't going to be paid. It's not like, surprise, you're not
Yeah.
gonna, like, it's like you knew how this was going to go down. No one was getting abused.
Right.
It sucks to not get paid. But also, even at that level, people aren't willing to pay what it actually costs.
Yeah.
Like, Noma should be like $5,000 a person to sit down, pretty much. I mean, at least.
And it isn't.
And it isn't.
And it can't be.
It can't be. So.
But if they did that, then they'd find a way to crucify him for that.
Totally.
Totally. So it's like he's in
a
spot where
it's not an accessible restaurant.
He can't win.
It has nothing to do with that.
Should every restaurant be accessible?
No.
Okay.
No.
So then you think there's a place for the Nomas in this world?
100%.
Right.
Yeah. I just don't think that because they're not accessible that they're better.
Heard. Okay. So that's where we're going with this.
Yeah.
I think a new rating system has to be made.
Yeah, I mean,
it has to be classed out. As much as we don't want to do that, but like, I don't know. I think it's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
because Michelin won't say it, but your menu needs to cost over $250 to get 3 stars.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or
I mean, I don't think it necessarily like. I think the kind of menu that you need to serve to get 3 stars costs that much. Or maybe it's not like informed by the price,
right?
But the price informs what needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's like what's that certification? The one that a lot of hotels have, Relais Chateau. You need to use a certain type of linen, certain types of this. That's a whole class system in its own. But you don't see Relais Chateau being destroyed like Michelin is. So that's what I don't get either. Like,
I think the food is just like a thing,
right?
Like everybody eats,
mm-hmm.
Everybody feels some sort of ownership over food, and in theory, everybody can go to every restaurant,
right?
There are a few like private club kind of things that are kind of happening, but in theory, like you could save up and go to any restaurant that you want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And the same is true for hotels, but it's not necessarily as much of a like seen as a right,
mm-hmm.
like you can just stay at home, so but you have to eat.
Yeah, just stay at home. Okay, I can see that the differences there. It's just sad that Rene has to go through all this shit, and also I will say this:
I don't feel sad for him, but
I'm just saying that think about doing all of this stuff your whole career, and then people are just like, no, fuck you, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean,
forever.
Things change, like perspective changes, right? Like, our 2023 eyes when the restaurant opened, 20 years ago,
mm-hmm.
like it's a totally different world then. Like, like barely had a smartphone
mm-hmm.
to like be looking up menus of places. Like you had to like go and stage and like go experience it to get that information. Now there's cookbooks. There's the fermentation book that everybody uses,
mm-hmm.
and like there's just so much more information out there, and I think the stages are like pretty invaluable, if you use your time effectively.
Mm-hmm. As an older chef, do you see yourself staging anywhere while you have this restaurant?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay.
Yeah, never want to stop learning and getting better and exposing myself to more stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, for sure.
What are some cookbooks that you're reading right now?
I'm reading a lot of stuff that like relates to Burdell
mm-hmm.
right now, and reading a couple Gullah Geechee cookbooks.
Okay.
And that stuff is like really fascinating to me.
Who's that?
So that is a culture in kind of the low country of South Carolina.
Okay.
And it's basically like, former slaves that tried to hold on to their African culture a bit. So things like okra, a lot of the rice farming
mm-hmm.
that happened in America, they are the stewards of that, and they preserve that culture to this day.
Right.
And so a lot of the dishes that you really think about as Southern come from that culture. So like okra stew, like Limp and Susan with rice, that comes from that culture. like a crab soup called chi crab soup. That's like kind of like a crab bisque. Comes from that culture. Oysters, cooking whole hogs, like that kind of stuff just all comes from that culture. It's really fascinating. There's a bunch of cookbooks about that stuff. It's really fascinating. And then
what year were those cookbooks published, and how were they published?
some of them are older, but Michael Rayford just came out with one. I think it came out last year. And there's a lot of people that like are kind of stewards of that culture, like BJ Dennis, really awesome chef from down there, and like.
So they're just kind of preserving the history. You're taking that, doing it here.
Totally.
Okay.
So yeah, that's really cool. And that's a place I really want to visit. Gullah Island, off the coast of South Carolina. And yeah, I've been reading Edna Lewis's book, Country Cooking. Just like a really elegant approach to soul food ingredients and techniques. So that's really cool. It's just like a really amazing book, and she tells like the story of what's going on really well. So
right. Is there any French techniques or things that you're adding from everything you've learned to the cuisine?
For sure. Definitely trying to use some technique in there, but just like at the end of the day, I really want the food to taste like really homey and comforting. So I mean, more of the technique of like how you scale it is much more like French technique or restaurant technique, but the cooking of the individual dishes is more like how you would do at home. So a little bit more care and attention, less fussiness and garniture and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Hell yeah. How about plate wise? What are you doing for plates?
So I've been kind of tediously sourcing Corel and Pyrex plates.
Okay.
With like the patterns from like the 60s and 70s and stuff. So
were you going to tag sales and antique stores?
Yeah.
Dope.
And then there's a woman that I met on Instagram that has been like gathering stuff in Indiana. It's like a lot easier, I guess, to find stuff there.
Oh, no way.
So she like ships them out she like gets stuff together and ships them out in huge boxes.
Okay.
So yeah, we're pretty much outfitted, but I started buying stuff like a couple years ago, and just like.
Where the hell are you keeping all this shit? Just in your apartment?
I was, but I got a storage unit because it got crazy.
Like, get this shit the fuck out of here, man! Can't take a shower.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, it's funny.
So yeah, there's a lot, and then silverware too, like all vintage silverware that is really similar to the stuff that my grandma had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this the start of a restaurant group for you? Do you want to have more restaurants?
I'd like to. Yeah, for sure.
More casual or more fine?
I'd like to do something that's kind of more of a lateral, and then something that's more casual.
Okay.
Down the road. So yeah.
Okay. So you're still in Oakland, or you want to be?
Yeah, definitely in Oakland, and then the casual place I'd like to do something that's kind of repeatable, and that could go outside of Oakland as well.
Okay, so you're really looking to make a community, make a world for yourself.
Well, yeah, I mean, not for me, but like for the staff that they can move around and move up and lateral and stuff like that to other places that are like they really care about the people. So
yeah, 100%. Hell yeah. So fuck, man, a lot of shit going on.
Yeah,
Rene Redzepi.
Yeah.
Fucking, you're opening up a restaurant. How do your parents feel?
They're excited.
Yeah.
I think don't fully understand like how this is gonna like affect my time and stuff, and I'm like trying to reiterate to them like I'm a ghost for like a year. So, at least.
Yeah, so, they're not gonna see you.
So yeah.
Or hear from you. What do you think about that? Because I know how I am. Once you start doing a project like this, it's going to totally consume you.
100%.
What are things that you've done to sort of not let it consume you or take your mind off of it?
Yeah, like in this time, while we're kind of waiting on stuff, like I've been trying to be like intentional about like using my time to see my folks and see friends and go out to dinner and stuff like that.
Right.
And try to get it in now because I know that we're going to be crazy busy. Actually, having dinner with Andrew Ching tonight. So
No way. Where are you going?
Zuni.
Hey.
Yeah. So
Lovely.
yeah, just like trying to be intentional about using the time for that now. But once we get into it, going to be, like I said, closed for 2 days. So try to use one of those days to like see family and like be really intentional about that. So
go out to eat in the area.
Yeah.
Where you been going out to eat recently? I want to try Joe's Modern Thai. I met her at the event. I haven't tried it.
Yeah, Intu's she's become a really good friend, and we went to House of Prime Rib 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no way. Cool.
We had a good time. Yeah, Joe's is awesome. Been checking out some new spots. Went to Acre, which is in the old Oliveto space.
Okay.
On Market Hall. Went to Belotti last night with a buddy. It's fantastic. I think it's like kind of a sleeper best in Oakland.
What's the cuisine?
Italian.
Okay.
He's from northern Italy, and yeah, it's pretty phenomenal.
Okay. Check that out.
Yeah, I mean, aside from that, just like going to the standards, like the old House of Prime Rib. Love going to Brazen Head still.
House of Prime Rib. I've never been there.
Really? Man, you got to do it.
I've heard many good things.
Yeah, make your reservation now because it
just gets full.
It gets full. You make it for a month from now, like today.
Really?
And then, yeah, it's phenomenal. It's the best example of like what we were talking about. Like, is it the best quality beef in the world? No, but the whole experience is just like so, like, kitschy and comforting and
right,
like familiar. Even if it's your first time, it's just like just feels right. So, and just it's always the same.
Fuck yeah.
It's great. You don't have to make any choices. You choose what size cut you want. If you want cream spinach or cream corn, what kind of potato you want, and then you're off to the races.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
You got any pop-ups or events coming up soon before you open?
Yeah, working on a couple more kind of like events that probably be more like standing, kind of hanging out events.
Okay.
And then working on doing a couple wine events, like wine tastings, and then we'll do food for those. And then yeah, just actually announcing this week that I'm going to do some private events, like in people's homes. Offering that up as a thing, but just staying focused on the restaurant. I'm like basically like the point person for all the construction in the space, so
right.
Just making sure that I'm available for that. So and also gonna try to learn how to do a couple things myself.
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah.
Right. What's the address?
4640 Telegraph Ave.
4640 Telegraph Ave.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Opening in late spring.
Yeah.
Burdell.
Yeah.
My man Geoff Davis.
Yeah.
Fucking Sucio Talk. Here we go.